changed in all this time?
Okay, right now we are live and it's showing the starting scene. And now to go to the live. Hey, how's it going?
It's all right. How you doing?
Well, the topic about this special Halloween edition of the Lifewave X39.
Cool.
The 13th day. I'm going to take off this napkin. Ironically, things are happening weird today. So,
Okay.
because of the whole hassle, I do not have the second cam.
In
And
honor of weird. Here it is. Weird.
I know,
Kind of
I
looks like it.
know, I know. I'm barely prepared. I
I
had
gotta
all
tell you, this
day.
is where I am right now. I'm right in the middle of this picture.
I
This is my
I I,
camera.
I, I haven't dig this up yet. And that's a nice picture, by the way.
It came with,
It came with.
I can't tell you where. I don't know. I'm sure
So,
it's public domain. It's probably like, the Getty or something. But it's a background image, and I'm in the front of it because I am sitting here in the dark.
oh,
Unlike you, you're in the light. You've got the packet of wonderfulness. Do the magic, Daniel Robert Young.
hey, online I'm known as DryTech7.
That's your initials, DRY.
Oh, yeah. That's my initials, Dry, Tech, and then the number 7. The reason why I chose to do it that way is because that's actually a 3-tier call sign that I have, and I'm actually using it as my name.
I didn't know you can put call signs on tiers.
Well, as my initials, it has my current category of amateur radio operator, and it has the region that I got my call sign in.
So, how long would you say you've been dry?
All my life.
Wow. So it doesn't really refer to your habits, drinking habits and such.
Hey, I'm not an alcoholic unless you want to involve soda.
Yeah, let's talk about soda. What does that do to you
Well,
compared to these
here
patches?
is the patch. And
Ooh,
then I've shown you guys 12 times already my big stomach and where I'm going to apply it. So I'm just going to skip holding the camera.
hold the patch back up to the camera. It did something weird.
I mean, like that.
Back a little. Right about in there, it did a speckle thing. It was weird. So now you've got it half uncovered, huh?
Yep.
All right. Continue application, sir. I see it clearly. It was a weird speckle. It was like pixelated on top of pixelated. And I thought, wow, we got really bad signal. So you're applying this. Has it changed your belly button from an outie to an innie?
No. It didn't
So it
change
hasn't.
my belly button. All I do is just apply it 2 fingers. I take my 2 fingers. I take the 2 fingers and then I put it right above the belly button. To be right below the belly button, sorry. And then I apply the patch right below that. So
When'd
uh,
you take the old one off?
I take that one off 12 hours later, roughly. There's actually
So
been there's actually been times where I've accidentally worn the patch 24 hours straight, and I thought, what's the difference between wearing it 24 hours on and 24 hours off? Which actually brings to the topic of the indiscrepancies in my stream.
I don't know how that works into the science of the patches is what I'm interested in. Your observation, anecdotally, of what had happened after the 12 hours, did it decrease its efficacy or did it just not change? Would I recommend somebody keep it on for 24 hours? I mean, these things aren't cheap, are they?
Well, yeah, they're not cheap. They're not like high level science going into these things.
I think it is. I've been told there's a lot of high level science.
Developing the patch, yes, but what I'm using as I'm not really charting the whole thing, but I'm using this live stream to give a real, as much as possible, evidence on how I'm reacting to it.
Okay, that's cool. So if there's any science needed, we can always refer to the website that's down in the notes underneath the video.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably better anyway, because what I know about it is limited. I've only been doing this for a short while, and what we're looking for you is, has it made changes to you? Now, a variety of things are possible. I'm most interested in your weight loss, because I think that'll fix a lot of health problems with a lot of people. Has your weight gone down any?
Well, I just did a weight check, and I have not checked the results on that. I'm just going to sit up a little bit more right now. And every week, I've taken a picture of the weight check and last week's versus this week's. Okay. And it would be looks like I've gained roughly 5 pounds.
You say gained or lost?
Gained.
So all those candy bars you were showing me are gone?
Okay, I'm guessing our viewers are going to be wondering, candy bars? What candy bars? Okay, I better clarify this. That picture I sent you was a picture from Reddit.
So Reddit took a picture of you with candy bars, and now you've disappeared them somehow.
No. I took a picture of candy bars.
Oh, thank God. So why did your weight go up instead of down, doctor?
Well, I think it's also because it's just after I drank a bunch of juice and had a good breakfast.
You know that the liquid food is about 7 pounds per gallon. You're saying that you ate about 2 gallons?
Oh, yeah. Dude, you know how fast I can drink.
And you said you didn't have a drinking problem.
You know I'm talking about juice. Oh,
Juice
I'm on a live stream right now.
Amphetamines, okay? It's like meth or something. You get high drinking juice because you're so sensitive to sugar. And then you put on weight.
You want me to take those cups?
So full.
They're probably old.
Well, hang on 1 second.
What?
I'm back. Just had to clarify something real quick.
First time check then. At that point, the application of the patch has gone in, and now you're showing us how you eat. You sure you don't want to wait on this? Shall I come back after feeding time? Ooh.
Well, I was going to ask you if you can talk more on the Lifewave because you're more of an expert than me.
Meow. Meow. Me? So what are you going to do? Just like mute out or something and I show you the videos that are on the web page? Although I'd love to do that, I don't think I should. But I think what you're trying to say is that even if you should have eaten those candy bars or not, it's hard to overwhelm the system with just the X39 patch. It won't undo a bad lifestyle. So you're careful you don't eat the chocolate bars. You show me pictures of it, they get me freaked out that you're eating chocolate bars because I know you're fully capable of eating a whole box. But you didn't do it.
I'm surprised you're not saying anything about the Oreo cake that I sent you a picture of.
Oh, believe me, most of that stuff I have to disbelieve anyway. Well, instead, let's talk about the X39.
Also from Reddit.
And if you haven't seen a benefit to your weight, then maybe there's some other things that are going on that are even more health necessary because your body will take those stem cells that are enhanced, they're ready to go to the place where they're needed the most, and it might have gone to your pancreas. Did you have a decrease in the need for your medications, insulin or pills or whatever? This might be a good thing to do, to find out some of the other things going on. And, I know you're not always aware of that, and that's not bad. It's, you got life to do, you got streams to do, you got a living to make. Stuck where you are, you still have to do a lot of those things. So with a regular sort of a observational, kind of a scientific thing, I'd like you to do more than you are. As you said, you'd rather not, because it's, boring? So anyway, back to discover the rewards of living well.
It's not, it's not weight that's currently being affected, it's mainly my, glucose level.
Do you think that'll make a difference?
Well, considering that I just had a couple of tests that showed normal.
Yeah, but you're still taking
a couple of days ago, and this is during the time that I had a patch on. My glucose level was 91 and 92. Now I had them check it twice. This pinky it was 92. This pinky it was 91.
That's not a significant difference, but it is different. I think it's just the tester. Some quality of the test from each one or something, but that's not a significant variance. When we're looking at significant variance, you're going to be like 5 or 10 variable between the two pinkies. And really, it's still within normal. Normal is normal.
This was also right shortly after abnormal eating.
What are you eating now?
Breakfast. Not breakfast, supper.
So, no, this is your regular mealtime, and you asked me to Zoom with you during mealtime?
This is regular mealtime. This is also why I don't normally do a stream at 6 o'clock Pacific time. Because this is when the supper normally comes out. And
Well, I'd like you to thoroughly enjoy your supper.
yeah, and unfortunately, this is also the time that a couple of uh, people that are doing Zooms. Hello, Mrs. Potter.
Hello.
Comes out the LVN dressed as Harry Potter. Is that a Gryffindor robe or Hugglepuff? Oh, Hugglepuff robes.
Hufflepuff.
Oh, okay. Well, choosing Hugglepuff.
Okay.
I prefer Gryffindor. Even though my
I prefer reality.
well, even
Make you laugh
though
anyway.
my animal is a snake,
Slytherin?
my zodiac animal.
What's that got to do with it? I don't think it was ever mentioned.
Well, I actually have two zodiac animals. In the Chinese zodiac, it's a snake. I think it's a earth snake, be more specific. And as for the normal zodiac, I'm a Taurus.
Actually, I've got two also. One of them's the cross, and the other one's the empty tomb. Nothing else seems to matter. Jesus died on the cross, and that was a pivotal point in history. And then he was resurrected, and there's nothing but an empty tomb. That's my sign.
That's not a zodiac. That's
Exactly. The zodiac is garbage. The other ones I live by are reality. Hufflepuff, zodiac, and whatever the year of this Asian thing you're talking about. I don't want to disrespect their society and their way of looking at things, but I have to admit, and so would you, that's not everybody in that country that does that.
well, it's a horoscope. It's
not reality. It's just garbage.
Well, it's a general prediction of how someone's day is going to go.
No, it's not. It's garbage. How could something so far away affect somebody's life in some predictable way? It's just as good as Nostradamus and his predictions. You could sort of make it fit because it's so generalized. What is that? Looks salty.
No added salt.
REDNASCCHO. Mushroom.
This one is no added salt.
Are you kidding? You're eating mushrooms? You?
That's
All I hear is
allergy mushrooms.
Okay, dislikes chicken, fish, spinach, zucchini, prefers sherbet, sugar-free juice, 8 ounce, something or other, 2 soups.
Apple.
Apple. Now you're being healthy on me. I got to quit taunting you about your unhealthfulness and how many soda pops you can drink in a single sitting. The rest of us are getting through 3 ounces and going, man, I'm really thirsty. I'm going to drink some water instead. And you're on your 2nd liter, like a camel or something. I think camels drink fast, but I've never seen one actually do it.
I've actually never seen a camel drink at all.
Well, I'm sure they do it a lot like a horse does.
Well, I'm actually curious now. How much does a camel drink all the water it needs in one setting? Or does it drink, eat, repeat?
And does it sleep in between?
That's
I think
actually
every
another
day
good
it
question
drinks
because I know camels can go a long time without drinking. Because
If they stored it up.
well, yeah, they stored it up in the
Not a big water bag, though, that they can store it up in. So they have
Yeah.
to wait for it to metabolize. It's basically filling, ever so slowly, fat cells. Just
Okay.
like when you drink and your fat cells fill up and you
Eh.
gain 12 pounds.
Every time I think of a camel, I think of that old-fashioned joke.
Dromedaries, when you look in the mirror.
No, it involves camels.
An old joke. Okay.
Yeah, this is a camel joke.
We better stop the recording at this point. Children are not supposed to see this or hear it.
I didn't list this. I didn't list this particular stream as kid friendly, so technically we can say it. Which I'm just gonna go ahead and say it.
I've never heard you tell an off-color joke anyway.
What do you call a three-humped camel?
Last?
Pregnant.
Okay,
Yeah, can you
I have
just
to give you
something
that
like
one. That's good.
Over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
that's
it just
good.
these two?
Just those two, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Finally, I got what I need for the tea.
Oh, there's
I-
a procedure to tea making.
Well, yeah, whenever I make tea, I have to have honey.
You know, the procedure in the British culture isn't the discussion about whether it's honey or sugar. Sure, that might be part of it. But the discussion is, do you bring the water to the tea or do you bring the tea to the water?
Ooh, that's a good
'Cause
question.
everybody wants a good hot cup of tea.
Oh, yeah.
And whether it's sugar or honey, it's got to be hot tea.
But
So which is hotter? Which is better?
it-
Tea to the water? Water to the tea?
here's another question. Do you like your tea hot and ready right when you get it? Or do you want to have, or do you want to steep it yourself and have the condiments ready to go in right after you take the tea bags out?
Okay, you asking about me personally or just people in general?
This one is a question for the viewers.
Okay,
and
let me
a
answer in a
question
general
for
way.
you.
Oh, then I'll have to answer secondarily and for me. In a general way, people want hot tea or cold tea. They don't want it in between. Once the hot gets cool, they might still salvage it by getting it cold with adding ice cubes. But generally, people want it hot. They want whatever flavorings or whatever that's in it with a hot tea, and they want the sugar and the honey melted in at the same time. I don't see too many people putting cream or creamer or milk or, one of those things into tea. Tea is kind of a purist's thing. And there is not just the standard Earl Grey that you hear about on Star Trek with the captain. There is not just the black tea or the green tea, which is quite common. There is a bunch of other kind of teas. And even in that same leaf family, there is different variances between black and green to even a white tea, but it's still the same leaves. And it has to do with how they're harvested and how the tea is manufactured. The black is actually a green that has fermented and kind of spoiled. And that's what changes it to the darker color, giving it a stronger flavor and the odor that is coincident with all teas. They all have more of a smell than they do a flavor. Now, most people aren't going to know that there's many, many, many teas that are not made from those tea leaves that we're so used to, were offered in the stores. Those other teas are wonderful, delicious, and somewhat efficacious towards medical needs. We're about to have an expert come down and describe it to us. In the meantime, just say that there's raspberry tea, there's lemon peel tea, there's mint tea, which, by the way, is great for the stomach. I've experienced this myself. There is a catnip tea, which is quite relaxing. It's almost sedative, and it will help you to prepare for bed, at which time you would then drink the hops tea, not the stuff with alcohol in it, without alcohol. Tea made from hops leaves is sedative for real. It will knock you out.
Yeah.
Here's our resident expert on tea. Please tell us about
So-
tea. We're zooming, and you're being recorded.
So you have a blend master over there?
Other teas, It can influence like. Well, there are a lot of other teas. They have caffeine, which means they're influencing your caffeine, which is not always good for you. Yes, chamomile is considered soothing. Lavender's also. And some of the fruity ones can be soothing too, but mint can help the sinuses also, yes. And a lot of times the steam from any of the teas will help your sinuses, especially if it's something floral, like fruit or mint or something.
Then there's the tea combinations, and there's all kinds of that.
Yes.
So, there used to be a place called Teavana, which I believe was a part of one of our favorite companies. So since they no longer have Teavana, we won't name that other company. But we could go in and get, a dozen different flavors of tea, and all of them wonderful and delicious, and none with caffeine. It was fine, just fine. Especially to some people like the one who was just talking, who's very susceptible to caffeine. A little hyper anyway.
Teas I got?
No, not really.
I got a bunch of herbal tea there.
Oh, well, okay. Just bring it around in camera range.
All very dear.
Here we go. Camera. Yeah, that's interesting.
Still working on it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, he appears.
You don't have to sit down.
Yeah.
You might want to turn off your background filter.
All right. Just, my walls look like walls, and I didn't like that, so fine.
Well, there's Dinger. I haven't opened that.
Not advertising for these wonderful folks here, but this is a delicious tea. Because the fruit is there and it smells like the fruit, it's what tea is all
Yeah,
about.
it looks like
There's no substance. It doesn't taste.
It's a fruit, a combination of fruit and hibiscus, it says.
Now, some people will correct me and say that it has a flavor, and I'm saying, well, it's just barely.
It's just a peach mango.
Some of them are slightly sour, or the ones with caffeine would be bitter. But for the most part, they have no flavor. Okay, you see the flavor. It's this wonderful stuff. And Teresa's going to tell me this is one of her favorites or something.
Not necessarily, I just want I got.
She's got a big variety. She tries out different ones.
How much does she make tea a week?
Well, it used to be nightly when she first got the flavors. It was definitely one a night. But now that she's tried them all,
this one popped
not
open
so much.
easily. This one is used for trying to stay healthy because it's got lemon and echinacea.
Stay well. Now, these are big name tea manufacturers, so there's nothing too special about these. You can find them at any store, really.
This is used for
sells
soothing
teas.
for sinuses, which is called tension tamer.
So, once again, our favorite company here. But you see, they're good for different things. I would stay away from the licorice tea, or be prepared in the morning to wait a little longer before you leave.
The bottom opens here.
I've never heard of licorice tea.
Yes, it will clear you out. I know I was there. Okay. I'm not sure what the deal is with this.
You're holding upside down, kind of.
It's mirrored.
This is mint.
Oh, this is another mint tea, but why is it this
it's
color?
Just mint.
It's an interesting color. Mint, you don't think would be that
That's
color.
straight mint.
Text me the brand name and the
That's not brand
and the
name.
name of the licorice
change
tea,
everything.
so I can clear up my my digestive system.
We might even send you some.
Used to help with cramps.
It's not just for women. I actually like this one.
It helps with not just for women. It's just for everyone.
I'm not a big
Cramps.
tea drinker. You ask what I think of the teas, and once in a while, just for the fun
That's
of
one
it.
of my I like that one.
Well, there's an endorsement from our favorite tea person here, and I'm not big on
This
tea.
Is,
I think it has its place.
sinus and kind of sleepy.
But
It's
if I wanted
bad.
something to drink, I would drink water, because juice makes me have a spike in my blood sugar. For me, that's a bad thing, because I will also have a trough. For every spike, there's a trough. The more sugar I eat, the bigger the spike, the bigger the trough. And it will take me out where I'll have to lay down.
This is a blueberry and
I
aloe.
just, I get
pretty
low
good.
enough blood sugar, I have to lay down because, I'm just not functional. And we've been tested for that. It's called, 5-hour glucose tolerance test. And they give you a big pint full of sugary stuff. It was pretty good actually because they made it the soda pop, but it was like drinking syrup. And in 90 minutes, my blood sugar had peaked to 190, and I was higher than a kite. I felt like I had amphetamines or something. And then as the next 90 minutes went along, I was laid out on the couch. I could not stand up, and they said, well, maybe we'll try it for one more cycle. And I made it through 2 more cycles before I had to go eat something. And I was so hungry, I couldn't sit still. I was so nervous. You know, I had to go get something to eat. I couldn't think that I don't have any money because I was dependent on somebody else, and I hadn't had a job at the time for some time.
For quite a while.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I know. So it was a pretty bad scene. They were kind of worried I was going to disappear into the scenery and never be heard from again. This is not medicinal, but it does have some qualities to it. Some people have said it helps them with their migraines. Other people say it's just a nice tea. What happens, there's stuff in here, they're going to tell you good stuff about it.
I may have to look that stuff up then. As long as there's no weed or anything like that in there.
No, none of our teas have any medicinal qualities really at all. In the normal single serving, 1 cup, you're probably not going to notice any reaction whatsoever, even the licorice. But if you had a good amount of it, or you made it extra strong, which is the way, there's ways to do this without drinking too much extra fluid. Your benefit, of course, with the licorice is drinking extra fluid. And I have a couple of friends who I think they should be drinking it with a gallon of water because they get bowel obstructions, and it's good for them to get over it. The one fella, he has IBS. He swears this cured him. And I'm saying you can't be cured. No, this is not a curative. This is not for diagnosing, curing, or whatever, anything. It's not going to affect you that way. But he says he drank that for a month. His IBS disappeared after a rather disruptive movement. He said he took samples to the doctor for them to put in a laboratory test, and they said, well, that's a normal polyp, and you'll lose those every once in a while. But he swears he's never had any problems since. No IBS at all. And so irritable bowel syndrome for him was solved by that tea. Now, this is an interesting, I think you see it looks like potpourri. And it smells like potpourri.
Chamomile.
Yeah. Smells like something you'd never put in your face.
Chamomile.
I mean, lovely stuff. Nice tin box. I think that's probably the most valuable part of it. She loves it. I don't know.
No,
chamomile has this
I love it.
qualities that, she's going to understand. I'm not. She's going to tell you in a minute if I keep on going here. We have a guest, and he's doing his thing. And where do I put this? He's helping out. He's carrying his own load, which I think is admirable. And I think if we all have something to give back, then that's what we should do. We should give back, at least as good as we get, if not better. It's not just pay it forward. If you have somebody do you a kindness, you don't just pay them back, in exchange or some sort of transactional thing, but you pay it forward 3 times or an unlimited number of times because it's in your heart now, because it's possible to make the world a better place by being kind. And when I tell you this stuff, what I'm telling you is not because I'm feeling knowledgeable and all pride-filled in my knowledge, but because if I know something somebody doesn't know and I help them, I'm paying forward the kindness somebody gave me by telling me this. And, I've had enough science classes. I know when somebody is really following a scientific method, or somebody's just, everyday life. What you're describing here is everyday life. And that's why I say anecdotal story. And that has its place. And anecdotal stories, when in combination with at least 2 or 3 people, is a acceptable evidence in court. So people have been freed or jailed on anecdotal stories. So we got to be careful what we say, and always say the exact best way possible, because sometimes I say it a certain way because I'm passing it through filters and I don't say what I mean to say. And I ask you, what did you hear me say? And you'll have heard it another way because you have different filters. So you'll repeat it back to me in some way, rather than showing your understanding, and I'll say yes or no, that's what I said. That's an important part of conversation.
Oh, yeah.
That's revelatory to me, because for years I was going, I say it, why don't you get what I mean? I'm a bad listener in that case because I'm not listening for your response.
Yeah, and there's also times where you just completely shut off listening and just go. I actually can't speak fast enough to mimic you.
I had an intelligent person do that to me as a trade back to see what I would do. And I actually followed them. I kept up. They were rah, 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 rah. And they were telling me their life history in 30 seconds or less. And it was a 15-minute story
Wow.
with many events and dates. And well, it's their own, so they can tell it fast. And they were articulate and they could talk fast. And what I got out of it was certain key things which were significant to our situation. So I repeated it back and I said, is this what you said? Is this what you said? They were convinced that I had heard enough of what they'd said that I'd gotten out of it. The reason for their doing it is the other person with us didn't get any of it. They not only couldn't hear it fast enough, it would just went through like a buzz. They couldn't get it. And I thought everybody heard things the way I did, but apparently they don't. And I've been studying the way musicians, especially violinists, they have a more articulate ear. They hear more precise time and frequency than the rest of us do. Their hand motions as they bow that violin and their fingers doing the vibrato and all these things that they have to do to make the violin make those beautiful sounds. We're not even aware of the intricacy and the delicacy and the precision that they have to go through to do this. They hear things faster, and their trained movements are more precise and accurate than ours. We don't even realize it. The closest thing I came to that, there was a guy, he's in college violin class or whatever. I don't know. He's up there. He's like a senior and really good at it. And he's wailing on the violin. He says, oh, I'm goofing it all up. And he just started hurting the bow. And he basically broke all the bow strings in the middle of the recital for his final. No, and he didn't just have another bow waiting for it, because in the preparatory, he'd done the same thing. I mean, he burned the bow. And he was not that bad. As a matter of fact, up until that point, it was pretty good. And I would have given him an A+, because he had really started hard. He studied hard. I'd heard him practicing. Hard to miss. And when somebody's that good and they're bugged about there not being good enough, you start thinking, is this some psychological thing? No, because he's hearing the errors that none of us are even aware of, the way he meant for it to come out. And that's because there is a skill and a talent there to hear things faster. Just like sometimes in a conversation, you really need to get that feedback all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can't even speed myself up most of the time.
Well, it's actually genetic. There's probably nothing you can do about it. You can practice and get better at it.
Yeah.
Some of that is you learn to speed read. Everybody reads at different levels, and that's fine. Some people like to read slow. They feel like it's comforting, it's relaxing. They like what they're reading, and they just want to get the full flavor of it and read slowly. Other people want to get through the whole story.
And then they'll naturally speed up on it.
Yeah. Well, everybody's different. And me, I want to read through the whole thing as fast as I can. But I have a thing holding me back. I didn't find out until I took a speed reading class. And just to read faster would be a blessing, because then you don't have to sit through the boring parts, right? But if you're in a textbook, it's all boring, and you got to go slower. And everything's important. You can't leave anything out. You can't skip over the big words. Turns out that's all you need to read is the big words. And what's holding me back, I articulate it in my mind. I think of how my tongue and mouth would move as I'm reading the words. When I do that, I get better being articulate out loud. So I can talk faster. I can talk faster than I can hear myself in a recording. I don't get what I'm saying later on if I play back the recording. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I'm retarded. Yeah, that's me. But in that speed reading class, I found out how not to do that. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy articulating it in my mind. I'm not reading it out loud. I'm not even moving my lips, because they taught us not to do that. But in my mind, I'm still doing that stuff. And when I read that way, I read only so fast. There's an upward limit to how fast you can move your lips and tongue. I mean, I may be faster from practice, and I may be faster than the average, but still, that's a limit. And the speed reading course taught me how not to put that in there. Besides reading the big words, you skip over the little ones. Now, that's two things that helped me to learn a speed read. And in one course, My speed reading went way up. I read through all of C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia in one afternoon on a
What?
Saturday. The whole thing. And I wasn't trying to speed read. It was just real simple stuff. I couldn't tell you what I read now because it was trivial. It's fiction. It was children's stories, but I really enjoyed it, and I just couldn't wait till the next thing, and finally the conclusion. And, he was a good storyteller. C.S. Lewis was great. I've read all of C.S. Lewis's books, although I have to take the Screw Tape Letters a little bit with a grain of salt. It's hilarious. It cracks me up with Beelzebub talks to Wormwood, and they're trying to figure out how to get Pilgrim to become a demon with them or something like this. The whole thing is so, maybe it's like that. I don't know. It's a spiritual thing, and I don't want to talk about that. C.S. Lewis had his ideas. He's coming from a different perspective. He's not Martin Luther, the great reformer back in the days in Germany when they started the printing press. He put his 95 Theses on the wall, which is 95 reasons why the Catholic Church is all wrong and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Now, he was awful about it. He wasn't just talking Catholic people. He was talking about this institution, the papacy, the Roman whatever, and they were trying to own Europe. And they had taken over a lot of governmental functions for, 1,000 years, 1,200 years.
Wow.
People will discuss maybe 1,260 years, and they'll say that's a fulfillment of Bible prophecy, at which time there was this horrible wound, and the Pope was taken captive. They actually had 3 popes at the time, so
3?
Neither one of them were really in power. Yeah, 3 at once. Yeah, they were all arguing who was the right one. And with that much schism in it, that much difference, they were having these problems. They were easily captured, put in jail, problems. And so that was considered to be the end of that. 1798. It's a historic moment. You could look it up. After that time, they kind of cruised along and let the Reformation do its thing. And you have so many churches coming after that. Some of them rejected the old, the pagan mixture and went it back to the original. And those churches seem to have done better than the others. But each one of them has a little bit of a traditional, they got to get rid of it. They've developed their own traditions. And if they're not in the Bible, it's either not important or it's really damning. It's a bad thing to have a tradition that's against God's word. Now, there's a lot of interesting traditions. You know how when you fold your hands and you bow your head and you close your eyes to pray. It doesn't tell you to do that in the Bible. As a matter of fact, the Jews didn't. They would hold their hands up, look up into God's face in heaven and pray. Totally different than what we do now.
Where did that come from?
I think it's to keep the children under control. When their hands are folded, they're out of trouble, most of it. And then they're not distracted from the prayer going on by closing their eyes. All they're hearing is now focused on the prayer by the one person who's praying. And I think it helps all of us to continue that. It's not a bad thing, but it's not in the Bible. So we do it anyway. There's other things we do that are not in the Bible, and that's for another time. Just about any church you point to, you can find something wrong with it if you want to. What you need to find is people. And wherever they're at, God is right there with them, lifting them up beyond these old things, these traditions, the ignorance that we have, because we're not all knowledgeable. I mean, even if you took all of the human knowledge about God, everything he's revealed to us about himself, we would only have the tiniest little bit of knowledge of him because he's infinite. He's beyond our understanding. We can't explain him. Every time somebody gets up there and says, well, he's this and that. Yeah, and then what? Because you can't explain the unexplainable. If he's omnipotent, he has all the power, how do you explain that? You really can't. If you had understanding of that, then you would have made it up, but you don't. You have enough explanation to know that, yeah, he established the laws of nature. And yeah, he can, through some natural means we don't understand, perform a miracle and undo a certain part of that natural law to make something happen that needs to happen. A lot of times he stands in the background and seems to be hiding from us these things other than the natural. The supernatural is hidden so that we can have the freedom to love. If it was proven to us that there was God, then we would have to We would have to for fear of being destroyed. We would have to do what he says. We'd have to believe in him. We'd have to. And he wants us to have the freedom to believe or not. If you don't have faith, then you don't have a chance to be saved. So to have faith, you also have to have room for doubt. Now, a wise man said, if you doubt your doubts, you'll always be successful because you are aware of what you do or don't know. And if you know what you believe, then you believe your beliefs until it's proven wrong, then you are in good shape. Now, the hard thing is knowing what your standard is. You've got to be anchored to the rock. The rock is Jesus. And in my understanding, it's the same Jesus that walked with the disciples, who was in the Old Testament on the mountain laying down the law, the 10 words he wrote with his own hand in unchangeable stone, the same one who created in 6 days and made the seventh day a day to rest and be with him specially. A delightful time that we've spent this last few hours, and it just ended. The sun's down, and it's now, in the Jewish reckoning, the first day of the week. And if you went to Genesis 1 and read that for yourself with God, instead of the way most people do, they just read it, you have to kind of prayerfully put yourself in his hands. Let him open your mind to what you're reading, and then read what it says, mull over it a bit. Think about it. In the beginning, and so on. What does he want you to know? What do you need to remember from this? Do you need to change something in your life because of this, or change your way of looking at things? And every text in the Bible is important. There's not one that is not important that you could leave out. And so with that in mind, what would you take to somebody else? What's important to share? Because if God is giving us love into our hearts, and our hearts are overflowing with that love, we've got to share it. If we don't share it, then we kind of implode and become less than we would be.
So
if we go up to God with we think is a bucket, he say, can you give me a bucket full of love to share? You know, you're like getting water at a well. So the story of the woman at the well is important. And you come back with this bucket of love. You see, I'm holding my fingers like this. It's not a bucket, it's a thimble. It was not enough. Well, the good news is you're done with that. You can share what you've got, but you've got to go back up and get a bigger bucket. God will supply what you need. As you learn, you become more. As you see other people learning, you get to see the wonders what God is performing in their lives. The best thing of all is when you see somebody converted. They don't just change their behavior a little, their whole life changes. They can become a whole new person. That's the one thing God can't or won't do because of love, is to just change your heart. He doesn't change it a little. He gives you a brand new heart. It's as if you were born again. And to express that born again, you know, you had to have some understanding of what it's about. So as an adult is when it happens, not as a child. If you were baptized as a child, that was no good. I mean, it was a parent's dedication, you know, to the child. That was about it. It's not that it was bad. It's just not significant to you until today, when a person could have a total conversion experience and then express that to the community that's going to support him in his new growth as a new heart, and a new person has given up those things he needed to repent of. You might still get a little dirty once in a while. And then we have where you wash the feet and are forgiven. Sometimes you need to repent to the point where you need to say you're sorry to somebody. Sometimes you need to repent where you can only repent to God. And God will help you through those things. If you stole from somebody, you got to make it good. I mean, look at the story of Zacchaeus. He stole from the whole Jewish nation, and they hated him. He's a publican. He's a tax collector. He's this awful person. Well, he knew right off what he had to do. When Jesus came to eat with him at his house, Zacchaeus' conclusion to that was, I need to make good. I need to repent. And he had to have a plan. He liquidated. He got rid of. He paid back 7 times. He did everything he was supposed to do as a good Jew should have done. And he shouldn't have done those things as a greedy person he had. I mean, we understand human nature. We do what we do. And we like to think, although we've never heard any more of his story after that, that was the end of it. He never backslid. He never went back and started taking the people again. We don't know. A lot of the stories in the Bible are about people who have been saved, and some stories about some who weren't. There are some who were in God's favorite position, and they walked away from it. And it's kind of obvious. I had somebody tell me,
Well-
"Oh, God doesn't ever destroy anybody," and I go, "Yeah, He will." They get justice because they cling to their nature, their human nature that God wants to replace with His nature. That clinging to that means that sin is stuck on them, and they won't give it up. And when the sin is burned up, they go burning up with it. Now, somebody would say, "Well, you don't believe in justice then, because what if this person did a lot of bad things and this person did only one bad thing? This one should be burned more." Well, yeah, I think so. But if you think about it, there's no human lived longer than 1,000 years. However you count it up, Methuselah was 969 years, so nobody lived long enough to suffer as much as the devil needs to suffer for what he did. Who knows how long before Adam and Eve fell? So the last one to stop burning would be the devil. But he's not sitting there in charge. Nobody's burning right now. The devil's not even burning. It's God's strange act of destroying evil finally, completely, and forever. There's no putting out that fire, but when the sin is gone, so are those people, including the angels who the fires were prepared for. Now, I don't know what it takes to burn an angel, but I'm pretty sure that people are gone like that.
Well, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Earlier you said supernatural would be hidden, right?
The devil hides too for a different reason.
Yeah,
Ask your question.
what about a person that can't see properly? That the best they can see is a massive shape because of some sort of incident. Doesn't matter what it was. And he wants to go do something, but he can't. The laws of the land, or the laws of a land in a land, or ordinances or whatever, or in this case a judge, is preventing that person from enjoying the freedoms set down by the governing land. So you have the spiritual rules, you have the land rules, you have the
Okay,
other
you
land
said you had a
rules.
question. I'm falling asleep here. I'm letting you know how you feel, because I do understand. I get didactic. I talk. I yak, and it's a buzz.
The point
You
is,
said you had a
that
question. A question raises
there's a judge that is preventing a person from enjoying the freedoms that he's supposed to have.
And your question is,
why can't the people right now stand up and say, hey, get that judge off the bench? Replace them with someone that
why can't
is
the people stand
fair
up?
and appropriate, and will...
How do you know the people that should stand up aren't already standing up, and those who shouldn't are already sitting down? You're
because the
asking for
judge is
judgment
still
on the
up
judge.
there.
You're asking for judgment on this guy and the judge and the situation he's in. We don't even begin to know all the circumstances. You get the court report, and you can kind of Monday quarterback, the game was over on Sunday, and here it is Monday. What are we going to judge there? As if we were jury.
Well,
We're not. We're not in the court. We don't know.
Here's the thing.
Can't judge.
With the way the laws are in this one state or county, I'm not sure if it's state or county, but I'm going to say it's county because it was a district court. They're saying that because there was no crime committed, and this guy, because he is blind, legally blind, he does not have a driver's license, and doesn't need one. Why would he drive? He can't. And he doesn't have a state ID. Now, I can understand the reason why you have to have a state ID, because in some states it's actually required after you become of age. But this guy, I don't know if he had a state ID before or not.
Good job, Teresa.
But just because of that, he didn't. He was told that it was a consensual stop, since there was no crime. And I'm thinking, okay, how's that consensual when the officer is threatening to break the window unless you give him your ID? This cop was literally getting ready to go like that with his flashlight to smash that window and drag both him and his wife out of that car. Well, van, technically.
Stolen in one village cemetery to be sold off for all the young men that died before.
Okay, another time stop here. I had my little story to tell, and you had your story to tell. I guess you're trying to match me, story for story. Mine was asking for a commitment to study Genesis 1. Yours is a question, but not a question. You waxed eloquent about a news story on a favorite, I guess, an anti-hero, because he's not the winner in this story yet. And you're asking me, I think, to judge his situation, which I can't. I've told you in the beginning, I don't know what's going on. I don't know the law. I don't want to have an opinion about that sort of thing, because it would feel like I was being political, which is against my upbringing. I grew up in Sacramento, and I know better than to be political about anything. I know it seems local to you and not politics.
You don't have to get into politics to understand this problem.
It's not a civil rights issue. It's misbehaviors in front of authority. And to me, that's just wrong. You want me to take an opposite side? I can do that. I'd also like to be on the side of the guy who was mistreated. And, you know, his rights are abrogated and needs to go to a court where a real lawyer would fight for civil rights. And I started saying, Gloria Allred, if it was really good, she should hear about it and take it on. If somebody like her, at her caliber, doesn't take it on because she likes civil rights and she would make a big deal out of it and win.
Well, here's one for you. No one is above the law, which means that officer that wrote the ticket, he's not above the law, and he could get a lawsuit and all that stuff filed on him, including a complaint. And to top it off, the wrongdoings that he does, he's gonna get nailed for it.
Norway, Barbados, Fiji, Nicaragua, Belize, Malaysia,
which proves
Romania,
he's not above the person that he's sending to jail.
to name a few. So if you're watching in some far-off place or something,
are you watching a copyrighted show on a TV right now?
we have a couple of interesting.
They're actually making it public because they like us. If you like to know about it, you can go to the Direct website, Revelation Now. They'll tell you how to look at it on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, all these different medias. It's going out worldwide. There's probably going to be about 2,000 or 3,000 people on it. Tonight, maybe more than that. And there are like hundreds of thousands of people who like it in at least, I'm going to say 20 countries, but it may be upwards from there. This guy represents a group who's been in over 200 languages. This one's probably being offered straight off in 10. And that's probably after this English version is streamed live.
Okay, well, from what it sounds like, that's a copyrighted show that you're watching.
So why? Are you going to buy some pizza? Well, I could eat one slice. Your money. Teresa and you, do you want pizza? There is none.
Where's that brick?
He wants to buy us a new TV. Should we tell him no?
Well,
Let's not.
I better do the outro so we can get this done. Because I don't want to get a copyright strike for the...
Notice I've got 2 chairs. I'm working on a third. Wait.
Okay, so since he's busy dealing with...
Okay, look at the progression.
dealing with the whatever's going on over at his place.
We're going to have a party here, I think. And it's pretty creepy already. You see, 1 chair was available. Now there's 2. As soon as I get the 3rd one available, I can do as you said and move the couch over there.
No.
Well,
I don't think I've done it though.
I'm gonna enjoy my own little Halloween party.
What do you think?
I was gonna do a live stream tonight, but that won't be until much later.
I know where it went. I didn't know what it was. I threw it away.
My live stream won't be until closer to midnight.
There's
so
another one that's missing from that side. See,
you can watch that on.
Okay.
But you don't have to do it like that. You can just put
it sounds like chaos here,
Twitch.tv /drytech7. That's where I will be doing my live stream.
And I'd like to say, if anybody wants to, the only valuable part of this was the first 3 minutes or less where he did lifewave.com. And you can go to mine and find my name is Robert Swan at lifewave.com /Swan Wins. That's Swan like the bird, SWAN, wins, WINS. They gave me that one because I won that entry into Lifewave. I'm not going to tell you how much money I'm making on it. We'll talk about that next time when we can get the millionaire to make you into a millionaire. Thank you very much for watching. Robert Swan, and
I'm Drytech7, and my Lifewave address is lifewave.com /GladTech, because I'm glad that I'm a tech.
I gave it to him too. He's a very glad guy. Thank you very much for watching.
Don't get glad, get mad. Don't get mad, get glad, even though that's with the Ziploc company. It's a really good saying. I'm definitely gonna say that about them. They have really good products, and
now you cross the line. That's copyrighted. Registered trademarks are not allowed. The other thing that we're listening to is Revelation Now is a series going on till the end of the week, and it's very, very good for those who want to know.
Do they allow redistribution of their content?
Yes, they do. They will sell it to you as a DVD to make it convenient. You can download it later. You can download it now.
Okay.
Through the usual means on YouTube or whatever.
Okay, so that means if they're selling it, that means it's copyrighted, which means I can't stream it.
They're selling the DVDs. You can download it for free later on. For instance, the last time they did this from New York City, he loves New York and he goes there all the time. I've got that one. They made it available for download online. Now, they did sell it as DVDs. They still are selling it as DVDs. You have to request it because they got to pull it up. But I've got them on hard drive anytime you want it.
Well,
and I will
let me end this stream. I'm going to switch to the end thing. Right there at the bottom, you'll see all of my media. You'll see the Twitch, the Facebook, the YouTube, and Twitter. And that will be it. And I'll see everyone the next time. Happy Halloween!
And we'll find out if ghosts are real at revelationnow.com. That's what it's about tonight. I'm not kidding you. Are ghosts real? They asked a whole bunch of people, and they just told us this. In 2 hours,
paranormal activities. You're gonna make me